Once upon a time, in a faraway village, there lived a kind and wise grandmother who was loved by everyone. She was famous for her goodness, wisdom, and beautiful stories. Every evening, the village children would gather at her house to listen to her interesting and moral filled tales. The children loved her stories because they always had something to teach. One day, while the grandmother was watering the flowers in her garden, she felt something unusual. It was as if someone very special was approaching her. Suddenly, a cool breeze blew and a soft light appeared before her. The grandmother watched in amazement as the light slowly transformed into a beautiful fairy. The fairy's golden hair and shimmering blue dress made the whole atmosphere feel magical. The grandmother smiled and said, "Oh my, this feels like something out of a fairy tale." "Who are you, dear?" The fairy smiled gently and replied, "Grandmother, I am a fairy and I've heard about your wonderful stories. I've come here to know how you got the gift of storytelling." The grandmother, still smiling, motioned of the fairy to sit on the chair beside her and said, "Ah, that's a long story, but if you truly want to know, I'll tell you." The fairy eagerly said, "Of course, grandmother. I'm very excited to hear it." The grandmother took a deep breath and began to speak. "Many years ago, I was a young girl just like you, innocent and full of wonder. One day, while I was gathering firewood in the forest near our village, I met an old woman. She looked very weak and tired. I asked her, 'Mother, why are you here alone?' The old woman replied, 'My child, I have traveled a long way and lost my way. Could you give me something to eat?' I had only a small piece of bread, but I gave it to her without hesitation." The woman smiled and said, "You are very kind-hearted, my child. I will surely repay your kindness." Then she took out a magical stone. "Whenever you hold it in your hand and tell a story, people will listen to your words with all their hearts, and they will never forget your tales." The fairy asked in amazement, "Really? What happened next?" The grandmother smiled and said, "I thanked the old woman and she disappeared. From that day on, whenever I told a story, people would listen with joy, and my stories would stay in their hearts forever. This magical gift is still with me, and it's the reason why my stories are so famous." The fairy, now even more excited, said, "So, grandmother, your stories really are magical." The grandmother nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, my dear. But remember, magic only works for those who do not think badly for others." The fairy took the grandmother's words to the heart and said, "Your stories of truth and kindness are truly inspiring. I will go back to my world and tell your stories so that people can also learn the importance of goodness." With that, the fairy held the grandmother's hand and said, "I thank you for your wisdom, and I want to give you a gift." These are magical flowers that will bloom in your garden forever, spreading the fragrance of your stories. The fairy planted a glowing flower in the grandmother's garden and then spread her wings and flew away. The grandmother looked at the garden with a smile and thought to herself, "The magic of storytelling truly lies in love and kindness." Moral of the story: acts of kindness and love always bring rewards, and their fragrance lasts a lifetime. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more interesting videos.